Hello, music producers, and welcome to the part 3 of this FL Studio beginner tutorial series. All right, so in part 1, we talked about an introduction to FL Studio and a quick overview of everything. And then in part 2, we went in depth into the channel rack and knowing how exactly it functions and what it's used for and how to maximize the use of it. And in this part 3, we're going to be talking about the piano roll. All right, so as you can see, I have the piano roll open right here. And as you can see, it has like a kind of very simple user interface, but don't be deceived by it. You can do a whole lot of complex things right here in the piano roll. All right, so first of all, quickly let's just dive right in. As you can see on the top left right here, you have the piano roll options. All right, as you can see, there are a whole lot of options here. So we're just going to be doing the basic and most important things that you need to know about in the piano roll. All right, so I'm not going to be explaining every function that you see right here. As you can see, we have file, we have browse scores, we can import MIDI files, we can export MIDI files. All right, so as you can see in edit, you have the option to cut, copy, duplicate, delete, shift left, shift right. All right, so up here you can see you have the tools, and this is just a shortcut to the tools option that we have right here. As you can see, the same options we have. All right, so this is the tools, and you have the stamp option, the snap option. All right, so this is also the same thing with the snap option that we have in this main menu right here. All right, and this you have the stamp option. Okay, and this is also the same thing with this one right here. So these are the shortcuts to the few options that we have going right here. All right, so going further right, as you can see, we have the draw tool, we have the paint tool, we have the paint in drum sequence mode. Okay, you have the delete, you have the mute, you have the slice, you have the select, you have the zoom, and you have the playback, and you have the play and pause button right here. And over here you have the channel selection, the target channel, or what you can just use to switch between channels. And as you can see, if we look at this, we have the kick, clap, hi-hat, and snare, and these are the same things we have in our channel rack. So as you can see, whatever we have in our channel rack in the order it's arranged is what you have right here. So what you can do is that you can now begin to switch between instruments right here while you are producing, or while you are making a melody, while you're making a beat, while you're making a drum loop, whatever you're making, you can just easily switch between channels right here. All right, then going further down, all right, we have this green box right here. Okay, and if you select this, you can just change the color. And what this does is that it changes the color of what you click, like the notes you're making. It just changes the color of that. For example, if I change this to a blue, you can see that when I click on it, changes to a blue. Okay, if I change this to a purple, when I click on it, changes to a purple. Okay, so we just to have that in mind, let's just leave it at default. All right, so on top here you have a slide. You can use this to slide horizontally. Okay, and you can also use this one right here to slide vertically. As you can see, you can go up all the way to C10, and you can go right down all the way to C0. All right, so we have 10 octaves right here. All right, you can do a whole lot of magic with these 10 octaves. All right, and you can see we have this box right here, this box that is at the corner. And what this does is that once you click and scroll, you can squash down and you can magnify the octaves. All right, the boxes, you can just go ahead and do that. So you can just stick with one that is suitable for you, or you can, I prefer going a little bit smaller, okay, around this level. All right, but you can just do what works for you and just make it suitable for making music. All right, so as you can see, we have this our keyboard right here, and this, like I said, you can go all the way from C0 to C10. Okay, so it just contains the notes. As you can see, it has the view of a keyboard. All right, and so what you can do is to start making music is that you can just click on this grid. As you can see, this is our viewport here. This is where you do like 90% of all the work. All right, so you can go ahead and click on, and don't mind you, I'm using the draw tool. Okay, I'm going to be explaining what all these tools are, their functions, in just a minute. All right, so as you can see, I'm with the draw tool, and I can click. Once I click, I can click and drag. All right, and you can see when I click, you hear a preview of the sound. All right, this is a kick. Okay, let me just go ahead and add a FL key. Okay, let me just go ahead and add a piano FL keys. Okay, so that as you can see, once I added that, you can see it's added right here. Okay, I can now switch to that, and we hear the keyboard right here. So you can see that is that. All right. So as I was saying before, I'm with the draw tool, and when I activate the draw tool, okay, I can click, and you can see it activates a note. All right, and what I can do is that I can now go ahead and adjust this length. I can adjust the length of the note, and what happens here is that it plays and it stops exactly. If I press play right now, you can notice that it plays and it stops exactly where the note ends. All right, so you can see that, and if I'm to add another note again, I can add another note after it, and it plays this note also, and also stops at the end of it. All right, so like I said before in the previous episode on the channel rack, one advantage that the piano roll has over the channel rack is that you can layer notes on top of each other. So if you want to create like a chord, you can just go ahead and add this, and once you play this, it plays the whole chord as a whole. All right, so you can see that is just amazing. All right, so you can also go ahead to extend the notes. All right, you can reduce them, you can extend them, and they play for the whole length of the note. All right, so as you can see, that is what the draw tool does. It helps you click, and you can also right click, or once you hold the right button, you can see that it gives this option to delete. Once you see this red button, you can go ahead and delete each note. All right, then next up you have the paint tool. And now the paint tool and the draw tool are kind of very similar, but one thing is that once I create a note, okay, once I click on it, it doesn't make a sound. Okay, as you can see, when I go into the draw tool, once I click, it makes a sound. Okay, but the paint tool doesn't make a sound, as you can see. All right, but one thing that the paint tool does is that it can, once you click and drag, you can create series of notes at once. All right, so it's very, very useful, especially when you want to create like hi-hat sounds and you just want to make the hi-hat just go on once. You can just click and you can just drag everything and it just goes like that. But with the draw tool, if you have to do this, you have to go and start clicking everything one by one, which can be very, 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 very tedious. So each of them have their own purposes and have their own functions, and can be used wherever, whenever, and wherever you want to. All right. So that is basically that for the paint tool. And then you also have the paint in drum sequence mode. Now, the only difference I have seen between the paint tool and this paint in drum sequence mode is when you click on a note, you can see once I click on a note, it turns gray, which mutes the note. All right. So if I click on this note, once I click on them again, you can see it turns gray, which is a mute. All right. But when in the paint section, when you click on note, it doesn't mute it. It actually brings up this option, this note properties right here. Okay, so you don't have that option with the paint in drum sequence mode. Okay, the next up you have the delete. Okay, and the delete is just very simple. Once you click on it, it shows you this orange icon which does delete. So once you click on a note, it just deletes it, and that is that. Okay, and then next up you have the mute option. Okay, and what this does is that it just mutes the note. Okay. So you can also click on it again to unmute. All right. But if I'm to mute 3 of them right now, notice that nothing is made. All right. So you can just go ahead and mute it and unmute it also. And then next up, you have the slice. And the slice option, what it does is that it just does as it says. It slices the barred note in 2 in whatever you want it to be. As you can see, you can just go ahead and slide this. Okay, slice this. And you can see you can even go curve. You can curve the slice. All right, so you can just go ahead and make some fancy things with this. All right. Okay, so that's what you can do with that. Then you have the select option. Okay, and what this does is that once you click on it, it creates this box that you can use to select a group of notes. Or you can go ahead and mute this. You can go ahead and do a lot of things with this. But a shortcut for select is you can hold Control, okay, and also click, and it gives you the same option of select. Okay, instead of going up to the tools bar to press select, you can just hold down Control, and you can go ahead and click on, and it creates that box for you, which you can then select the portion you want to, and you can go ahead and move them up around and do what you want to do with them. And then you have the zoom option. Now the zoom is also similar with the select, but you can see this is blue. All right, and what this does is that the portion you select, it zooms into that portion for you. As you can see, you can zoom in that well. All right, and you can also always click on it again to zoom out, and you can always use the sliders to go back to how it was before. All right, so that is just something for you to have in mind. Okay, so if we look at this bottom panel right here, as you can see, we have controls, and if I click on it, you can see we have a whole lot of options right here. And in the previous video, I explained that these options you see right here are exactly the same options that we have in our channel rack graph editor. As you can see, we have the note, velocity, release, time, pan, x, y shift, and those are the exact same options that we have right here. We have note, pan, release, and they are actually linked together. There are a whole lot of things you can do with this. You can affect the velocity. All right, so you can affect the velocity for each note. Okay, so you can go ahead and reduce the velocity for this. As you can see, it does that. You can also go ahead and pan them. Okay, you should be aware that up takes it right. Okay, like going up takes it, switches it to the right, while going down pans it to the left. All right, that's something for you to have in mind while doing the panning. So as you can see, there's a whole lot that we can do from this section right here. Okay, so now in the previous video, in the when we were talking about the channel rack, okay, we created a simple drum loop, okay, by initiating these boxes right here. And by the way, if you haven't watched that video, go ahead and watch that. There's a link in the description to the whole full playlist. Okay, so if you have missed part 1 or part 2, you can always go back and watch them so that you gain more understanding while watching this one. So in that previous video, we made a simple drum loop by working with the boxes right here. Okay, but we're gonna do that right now in the playlist. Okay, so you notice that it is like the same thing. Like I said, you can switch between channels. You can just switch between the kick. As you can see, we have the kick now. So once we click on this, you can hear is the kick we are hearing. All right, so you can go ahead and just click this, move this down, click here again, and here again. All right, so once we click on this and we go back to our channel rack, you notice that the view has changed from this series of boxes to we have this piano roll preview kind of. All right, so we can click on this to actually open the piano roll. All right, so we have our options here. So to play this right now, you notice that we have this simple beat going. Now if I want to affect the snare, all I can just do is simply go to click on this option again right here, and then click on snare, and you can see I can just place one on the 3rd and place one on the 4th beat. Now, if you look in between, you can see we have this ghost note, and it's called a ghost note. It is having, like, as you can see, if I'm to remove this, you can see these 4 are the things that we affected on the kick, but we can see them right here because the ghost note is turned on. And now to turn on this ghost note, you go to your main menu, you can go to view. As you can see, we have ghost channel turned on. Now there's also an option for editable ghosts. All right, as you can see right now, you cannot affect them. Okay, but if I'm to turn on editable ghosts, I can go ahead and affect them from here, and I can still go ahead and add my snare and place it on top. Okay, it's just something for you to have in mind. Okay, but I prefer having them turned off. I prefer having them turned off. Okay, so you can just go ahead and add a kick like that, add the snares like that, and then we have this going on. Okay, so now in the channel rack, there was an option for filling 2 steps, filling 4 steps, filling 8 steps. Okay, so we can also still do that right here in the piano roll, and it's actually very, very simple. And to do that, we work with the stamp. Now this stamp is an option, like it gives us like shortcuts to different chords. Okay, we have different scales, and we also have for percussions, which is what we need for now. So you can see you have the fill 1 step, fill 2, 3, 4, 8 steps, and there are also some other options which are like more advanced. But if you just want to fill each 2 steps, you can just go ahead and click on this. Now nothing happens yet until you click on where you want to start from. And once we do that, you can see it goes ahead to fill every 2 steps for us. And once you click again, it is being turned off. So this affects it only once. So if you want to either fill another 2 steps again, you have to go back here again. You have to go back here again and fill each 2 steps again to fill the next 2 steps. All right, so as we have filled the hi-hat now. You can see we have this drum loop going on now. All right, so that is very amazing. And if we have to go back to the channel, right, you can see now we have this the kick, the hi-hat, and the snare. Their views have been changed to this piano roll version. And you can, like I said, you can always click on them to go to the kick. Okay, you can click on them to go to the snare, and you can also click on the hi-hats to go to the hi-hat. All right. So there are a whole lot of things that you can do from here. You can always go ahead and add more notes in between. You can go ahead and affect the velocity like we've done before. You can right click to affect them manually, or you can left click to affect the values manually, or you can right click to affect them in a kind of an orderly fashion. All right, so one other thing you should know about the piano roll is this snap option. Now, this snap option, it's very, very important, and it's very, very vital you know about this, because this can be your doom. All right, so once we click on the snap, you can see we have a whole lot of options right here. Okay, so we have cell, we have line, we have none, 1/6 of a step, 1/4, 1/3, 1/2 of a step, and we have a step, we have 1/6 of a beat, and so on and so forth. Now, for example, if I'm to mute the snare and the kick right now to show, just listen to the hi-hat alone. You can see we have that simple hi-hat going on. All right, but let's say we want to like add extra notes of like hi-hats in between this place. Okay, so what we can do is we can go over to half of a step, because you can see this whole note right here is 1 step. This box you're seeing right here is just 1 step. So to input like a note in between the step, we can go over to half of a step. Okay, sorry, snap to half of a step. And you can see the lines are now divided even more. So what we can now do is that we can go ahead and reduce this to 1/12 of a step and add another note here. If we were to go back to the cell which it was on before, you can see we would not be able to take this any further down. We can't reduce this any further. Okay, so we have to bring this to half of a step before we can now go ahead and reduce this. All right, so let's say we want to just add a few notes to the end right here. You can go ahead and input notes right here and just make it like that. All right, so that is just that. And you can always go to 1/4, 1/3 of a step, 1/4 of a step, and even go take it further down and even add more notes in between. All right, so that's just something for you to have in mind. And you can always go to none. All right, and what none does is that it just makes it as free as possible, and you can do whatever you want to do anyhow you want to do it. All right, so as you can see, we have this simple drum loop going on. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and fill this in the playlist. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and create another pattern. Okay, so I'm going to name this pattern. This is our pattern 2. As you can see, the channel rack is empty, like I've explained before. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead to the piano roll, and what I want to do is I want to make a melody right now. Okay, so like I said before, you can click. As you can see, I changed to the FL keys to have the piano. Okay, so like I said before, you can click on the notes on the green light right here to initiate a note, and you can stretch it out to know how long you want it to be. Okay, you can always do this with a chord also by initiating more notes. You can as much notes as possible you can put right here. It's going to be creating a very simple and basic chord progression right here. So as you can see, we have a C major going on right now. Okay, so if you want to create the next note, you can always go ahead and add this also. So as you can see right now, we have this going on. Okay, then we can always go ahead and create more. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do the last one. All right, so you can see we just done that. We just created a very simple basic chord progression going on, and basically this is how we just make music in FL Studio. So as you can see, we have two patterns going on, and if you haven't watched the previous video, okay, you might not really understand what this pattern is all about. So I advise you go ahead and check this part one, check out part one and part two, so that you can really understand what is happening right here. So if I'm to play the playlist right now, you see we have the drum and we have the melody going on. Alright, so as you can see, that is that. And this is the pattern one, which is the drum loop. You can always go ahead and switch to pattern two right here, which is the melody we have going on. And as you can see, we have this. We can always go ahead and increase this, like I explained in the previous video. Okay, you can go ahead and increase this to have an increment and really see what is going on. Okay, and we can go ahead and reduce this back. You can click on this to open the piano roll. Okay, and it brings you right back here. Alright guys, so that'll be it for this video. Please, if you like the video, don't forget to like this video and also subscribe to this channel and enable notifications so that you don't miss out when I upload another video just like this for you guys. So meet again guys, stay safe and see you in the next one.